Hi, I'm Elizabeth with MamaCanDoIt.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make my favorite diaper cover. The first thing that you're going to want to do is put the pattern pieces together. I've got them printed here, and so I'm going to show you how this is done. Got a couple extra things printed here. Okay, so you take your piece A and you cut off the top of piece B. And then you line up the dotted lines and tape it together. Then you do the same thing by cutting off the top of piece C. Line up those lines and tape that together too. Then you're just going to cut around the entire pattern. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is grab your fabric, your PUL and your outer fabric. Okay, so I have my outer fabric and I also have my PUL. Normally I use scissors, but today, because I have a few of these to make, I am going to be using my rotary cutter. It does make cutting much faster. So I'm just going to place my pattern right here on the fold, and I am going to cut . Alright, then I'll set this fabric aside and I will also cut my PUL. Okay, so now that I have both pieces entirely cut, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my PUL with the shiny side facing upward. Then I'm going to take my seam ripper or pen and poke holes in all of these dots for my snap placement. And then after they're poked through, I'm just simply going to lay the pattern piece on top of my PUL on the shiny side, and I'm going to draw these dots onto my PUL. So now that I have all of my snaps drawn on, now what I'm going to do is place my PUL fabric with the shiny side facing down on top of my outer fabric. And I could pin it, but actually what I'm going to do is use my Dritz basting spray and actually open this back up and just give it a light coating and lay it back on there. And what that is going to do is going to keep me from having to pin it at all. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing right here in the front. I'm going to go all the way along the edge with a 3/8 of a seam allowance and then come back and leave about a 3-inch opening. I'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I went all the way around my entire diaper here and sewed it together, except for this opening in the front. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place my pattern piece back on top of the PUL side, and you're going to notice that I have elastic markings here. These markings are very specific where the elastic needs to be. Because this is a one-size diaper, you don't want the elastic to be going up too far or down too far, so that way it'll be a perfect fit on your baby regardless of their size. So what I'm going to then do is just take those elastic markings and transfer them to the seam allowance on my diaper that I have here. And so you do the legs and you do the back. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my elastic pieces and I'm going to attach them on each elastic marking here. Okay, so what I have done is I have attached the elastic to the back here as well as to the legs. Now you can see I only have it tacked down on the sides, and that's also really important, especially because it's a one-size diaper, because it will put the elastic where it needs to be depending on how you have it folded. Okay, so the next step is going to be to turn it right side out. Alright, now let's head over to the sewing machine and I will show you how to create an elastic casing. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is create an elastic casing. I want to make sure that everything in my diaper is entirely turned right side out. And then I'm going to start with the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to see where it starts to bunch, and then you can see if I just pull it tight that there won't be any more bunching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate the beginning of that elastic with my fingers, and then I'm going to place that underneath my presser foot, that area. And I'm actually going to sew about 1/2 inch, maybe even about 5/8 away from this edge here. And when I do that, I'm going to make sure to back stitch. And I'm going to pull this tight here. If it seems that I am pulling a little bit too hard, I'm going to reach my hand behind here and hold it in the back as well. But most of the time I'm going to keep this hand right here just to make sure that my elastic will be on the right side of my presser foot and that I actually won't be sewing through it. You also want to make sure that you always sew with the PUL facing down, because it will make your presser foot very angry. Alright, so then I have gotten to the end of my elastic and I'm just going to cut off, and you can see that that looks really nice. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the legs, and I actually think that the legs are easier because of the curve. It helps to hold the elastic into place. I'm going to start it right about here. And I'm just going to make sure that it is all turned right side out. I don't want to leave it like this, because if there's any puckers, the sewing machine is going to end up sewing them into place, and then it's not going to be such a pretty cover. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate my opening on the front of the diaper, which was right here, and you can see it's still very much open. And so to be able to close that, I want to make sure everything is turned right side out properly, and then I'm going to sew that shut by sewing a top stitch along the entire diaper, excluding the areas that I have sewn the casing. So what I'll do is I'll start right next to where I have the casing. I'll start right here. So, and then I'll go all the way around to the next leg casing, and then I'll stop, and then so on and so forth, so that there is only one extra set of stitches along each edge. So you can see that my elastic casing is right here, but I actually stopped sewing the top stitch right here. Okay, so I have all of my elastic done, as you can see, and I have my seam ripper. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to poke holes into my PUL on the places that are for the stud snaps. And I want to go through both the PUL layer and my outer layer. Okay, now I'm going to attach the stud snaps in these locations. I figured I would just show you how I attach the stud snaps. So I already have a stud in my snap press, and then I'm going to do the wings first. I'm going to put the flat part of the snap, which is also called the cap, through the back, so that way the stud is going to be on the side of the PUL. Ta-da! Okay, now that I have all of my studs done, I am going to go to the sockets. Well, I got the rest of the snaps put on. So as you can see, I have my top row of socket snaps. I have 2 stud snaps, which will then do the snap down rise. The pattern does have the option for 3. So there is that availability. And then the rest of the snap down rise, as well as the snaps on the wings, and this is actually for overlap. Here, these socket snaps are. I'll show you. Right here are the overlap snaps. So then I could overlap it for an even tinier baby. There we go. Now, something that you missed was that I messed up on a snap. I actually have an entire tutorial video on how to fix a messed up snap, but the short version is this handy dandy tool right here. You basically just melt the snap out and then replace it. So look for that video. And I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope it takes away all of your fears about putting one of these diaper covers together, because they are pretty easy. It takes about a half an hour per diaper cover, and it's really only because of the snaps. So thanks.